Have you ever stopped to think that everything you know about heaven, hell, and the end of times might be incomplete? Since childhood, we are taught about angels with white wings and demons with tridents amid flames. But what if I told you that there is an ancient truth revealed thousands of years ago and deliberately forgotten by those who control knowledge? A truth as disturbing as it is powerful, as challenging as it is enlightening. What if you could truly know what happens behind the doors of heaven and in the deepest abysses of hell? This truth was recorded in a book that few dare to mention, the Book of Enoch. Banned from most sacred scriptures and hidden for centuries, it contains prophetic visions about the destiny of humanity, terrifying accounts of fallen angels, giants, and celestial beings who descended from the heavens not to save humanity, but to corrupt it. But why was this book hidden for so long? What is the mystery they keep under lock and key, away from your eyes? The answer could change your understanding of God, life, and above all, yourself. Prepare yourself for a revealing and controversial journey in which you will gain access to the hidden secrets of Enoch's visions. Secrets that will challenge what you believe, provoke deep questions, and at the same time bring an immediate reward. You will clearly understand the signs that heaven has sent about the final judgment. There is no turning back after knowing this truth. The question is no longer whether these events will happen, but rather whether you are ready for what has already begun. Book of the Watchers. Before nations were formed, before kings took thrones or swords gleamed under the sun, there was a veiled time, a time when the celestial gates opened and the Watchers descended. They did not come with war or judgment, but as observers, sent by the Most High to watch over the children of men. Yet upon seeing the beauty of the daughters of the earth, their purpose was corrupted. The purity of heaven was stained by a forbidden desire, and the sound of this transgression echoed through the farthest reaches of creation. These angels, known as the Watchers, sealed a pact among themselves. They swore by heaven that they would not turn back, that they would take human wives and teach them the hidden secrets of the heights. Thus were born the Nephilim, colossal giants who ruled the earth, spreading destruction, famine, and terror. Men looked up to the heavens and saw not light, but judgment. For the sons of heaven had sown chaos where they were meant to bring vigilance. The wisdom of the angels was given to mortals in a corrupted form. They taught forbidden arts, magic, enchantments, the use of metals for war, cosmetics for seduction, astrology for manipulation. Knowledge that was meant to build was used to corrupt. Innocent blood was spilled. Cries rose to the throne of the Most High, and creation groaned. The Book of the Watchers does not merely recount a fall, but denounces the inversion of divine order, an eternal warning of what happens when what is holy unites with what is profane. Enoch, a righteous and pure man in his generation, was set apart. Not by the strength of men, but by divine decree, he was lifted between worlds, guided by angels to the celestial pillars, where he beheld the chambers of the winds, the hidden thrones, and the judgments prepared for the transgressors. Heaven revealed itself to him not as a place of rest, but of eternal decisions. Enoch saw where the fallen angels would be imprisoned. He saw the flaming abysses, the sealed caverns where the stars that strayed from their paths would be kept until the day of the end. The pen of Enoch did not write legends, but testimonies. He heard the voices of the archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Sariel, all crying out for justice. They interceded before the Holy of Holies, pleading for the fate of the earth and for the condemnation of the Watchers. The throne of the Most High answered with fire. The sentence was sealed. The fallen angels would be chained for 70 generations. Their offspring, the giants, would be annihilated by each other's hands and by a flood that would cleanse the earth. But this was not only a punishment against the angels, it was a warning to men. For the corruption that began in the heavens had tainted the earth. Enoch recorded everything, the names, the sins, the places, the judgments, and as he wrote, his soul trembled before the revelation that had been given to him. This was not just any book. It was a warning sealed in eternal letters. And the question that echoes from the ancient pages is, if even the watchers, beings of light, fell, what prevents man from following the same abyss? The eyes of Enoch saw what few would dare to dream, but what was to come was even deeper. For among the visions given to him, there were promises, parables, and mysteries that would seal the destiny of humanity. Book of Parables. When Enoch returned from his journey to the heavens, his soul was no longer that of an ordinary man. What he had witnessed overflowed in his mind like rivers of fire, and it was then that the 3 parables began to be revealed to him. But these were not like the parables men invent to teach morals. They were prophetic visions, wrapped in mystery and clothed with glory and judgment, revelations that unveiled the backstage of eternity, where time bends and the destiny of humanity is woven by invisible hands. In the first parable, Enoch saw the coming of the Son of Man, a majestic figure who had not yet been born among men, but who already existed in the heavens before creation. This holy being was the bearer of eternal justice, anointed to judge kings, overthrow thrones, and lift up the humble. Enoch saw him seated on a throne of glory, as books were opened before him, books that contained names, deeds, and hidden secrets. The scale of justice was relentless, but there was also mercy for the repentant. It was the beginning of something that centuries later would be called the Messiah. In the second parable, the veils between worlds grew even thinner. Enoch beheld the dwelling places of the righteous, eternal gardens, fountains of living waters, lights that never faded. But he also saw the place of the wicked, deep valleys of fire, where the cry of the condemned rose unceasingly. It was the revelation of the final judgment, where great and small alike stood before the throne. There were no masks, no excuses, only the naked truth of each soul before the Eternal One. And yet, in the midst of the fire, a hope remained alive, for the Righteous One was among men. The third parable brought the revelation of the most hidden mysteries. Enoch saw the stars in rebellion, the heavenly hosts in conflict, the gates of heaven opening to receive the faithful. He also saw the 7 rivers of the earth, the heavens divided into layers, and the secret cycles that govern time. And within these visions, he saw the names of the elect written with fire in the heavens, chosen from the beginning to partake in the glory of the Son of Man. These would be protected during the Great Tribulation, hidden from wrath, preserved as remnants. The parables of Enoch were not merely stories, they were spiritual maps, encrypted messages destined for the generation of the end. Their content unsettles, comforts, and confronts. They point to a time when good and evil would be fully revealed, when the eyes of the spiritually blind would be forcibly opened, and when every knee would bow before the presence of the one who would come on clouds of fire and splendor. Judgment was certain. But so too was the promise of restoration for the faithful. And as these visions intensified, Enoch felt he was only on the edge of something even greater. For if the thrones were being prepared and the books opened, then the heavens were ready to reveal not only the judgment of men, but the very mechanisms that move the heavens. And the heavens would move. Astronomical Book. When Enoch was taken to the outermost boundaries of creation, his eyes beheld not only the invisible, but also the measurable. The Astronomical Book, also called the Book of the Heavenly Lights, revealed to him the secret cycles that govern the firmament. There, time was not a human abstraction, but a living architecture sustained by gates, stars, and guardian angels. Enoch was guided by Uriel, the angel of the cosmos, and saw how the sun entered and exited through appointed portals according to seasons fixed since the beginning. The moons, as was shown to him, were not merely nocturnal lights, but markers of destiny. Each lunar phase represented a precise count, and their variations determined the holy days, the times of harvest, wars, and judgments. Enoch felt the weight of this revelation. The destiny of humanity was governed by forces as exact as they were relentless. With tears in his eyes, he realized how men lived distracted from something so essential, guided by earthly illusions while the truth remained written in the stars. The firmament was alive. There were hidden gates in the heavens through which winds, rain, snow, and thunder emerged. Each of these phenomena was ruled by spiritual beings. Enoch trembled before the greatness of this knowledge, understanding the fragility and the absolute dependence of humanity upon the heavens. Everything, climate, cycles, seasons, was coordinated by laws that came directly from the glory of the Most High. Enoch learned that the stars had names, functions, and judgments. Some obeyed their course faithfully, while others had transgressed, and these, bound in the abyss, awaited judgment. Uriel also revealed the secrets of day and night. The days of the year were not determined by human will, but by portals that opened and closed, shifting the course of light. And each of these transitions carried profound spiritual implications. When the light increased, mercy spread across the earth. When darkness intensified, times of trial drew near. Every season, every celestial movement was a sign, a warning, a mystery that only spiritual eyes could fully comprehend. But what most touched Enoch's heart was the revelation that men had strayed from the true celestial calendar. They followed corrupted cycles, false days, feasts detached from the will of the Most High. And this, in the eyes of heaven, was a grave sin. Upon realizing this, the prophet's heart filled with anguish, and a deep cry rose to the heavens, a cry for mercy, for restoration, for a renewed awareness among humanity. Who would restore true time? Who would lead the earth back to the sacred rhythm of the heavens? And if the heavens moved with such precision, then every future event was already written in the stars. The destiny of humanity was not a chaos without direction, but a sequence revealed to those who dared to seek with clear eyes. And so, among sacred calculations, portals of light, and the rotations of stars, Enoch deeply understood. Time is not merely a counter of days, but a code of revelation. Whoever deciphers time sees the end. Whoever understands the celestial signs discovers that the paths to glory or to ruin are already traced above us. Book of Dreams. After being instructed in the cycles of the heavens, Enoch was enveloped by a profound prophetic ecstasy. But this time, the visions did not come through portals or angelic guides. They came through dreams. Dreams that were unlike those common to men, but rather windows open to future and past times, with living symbols, talking animals, and transfigured kingdoms. It was the Book of Dreams, where reality and mystery met, and where Enoch would receive the revelation of the entire history of humanity until the end of times. In the first dream, Enoch saw a divided land, and upon it, oxen, rams, wolves, eagles, and ravens walked as if they were men. It was a language of symbols, where each animal represented a people, a generation, a spirit. He saw the patriarchs as righteous oxen, saw Cain as a black bull that struck his brother, and saw the rise of the children of Israel as a sacred flock led through dangers and betrayals. Egypt was represented by predatory lions, and the prophets by rams that cried out among the beasts. It was like a divine theater, where all of time was staged before his eyes. But as the dreams intensified, Enoch saw the rise of greater beasts, empires that devoured nations, religions that corrupted the truth, hidden powers that manipulated the destiny of men. The nations became like entwined serpents, spitting fire against one another. Yet, at the center of this chaotic vision, there was always a small flock, protected, guided, tested, a faithful remnant led by the Eternal through valleys of shadow and mountains of glory. The entire time, the thread running through the vision was the preservation of the righteous. The Book of Dreams also revealed to Enoch the destruction of the first temple, the corruption of the priests, the rise of rulers who would clothe themselves in light but act in darkness. He saw wars, political alliances between eagles and ravens, and the suffering of the faithful who would be persecuted for upholding the name of the Holy One. But he also saw angels descending to mark the chosen with invisible seals, saw heavens opening in the midst of darkness, and saw that no righteous one would be forgotten. Everything was recorded in the Book of the Eternal, down to the last cry of each martyr. And then, in a dream more vivid than all others, Enoch saw the coming of the one whose eyes were like flames and feet like burning bronze. It was the Judge of nations, coming with thousands of his saints to execute the final judgment. He separated the rams from the goats, the sheep from the wolves, and established a new kingdom, a kingdom that would not be built by human hands. The dream ended with lights that could not be extinguished and with a celestial song that only the pure could hear. But even after such visions, Enoch knew that destiny was not yet sealed. For between the symbol and its fulfillment, there were human choices. There was rebellion and repentance, promises and trials. The dreams showed that, despite the harshness of the times, there was still hope. There was still a cry being heard, and behind the images that seemed fantastic, there was a solid truth. The eternal plan was unfolding, and it was advancing toward the final revelation. Letter of Enoch. Unlike the visions and dreams that transported him to hidden realms, the Letter of Enoch carries a more intimate tone, almost like a whisper. It is no longer just the prophet speaking, it is the Father. It is the man who walked among angels, but who now writes to his children and to their children. The letter is not addressed to the kings of the earth, nor to the fallen angels. It is addressed to the righteous, to those who would be born in the final generations, to those who would live in dark days when truth would be as rare as pure gold, and the cry of injustice would once again fill the heavens. Enoch writes with tears and with fire. He warns the children of righteousness not to mingle with the wicked, not to take part in the crooked paths of the proud, the mockers, the corrupt. He speaks of a future generation, the generation of the end, that would live among deceptions, spiritual manipulations, and false teachers. But he also speaks of a remnant, a people set apart, hidden like seeds beneath the earth, who would bloom at the appointed time. His letter was like a spiritual map, a call to resist and remember. He writes of the weight of repentance, of the value of silence before God, of the need to keep one's eyes on the heavens, even when the earth trembles. He warns against fleeting pleasures, against alliances with the world, against forgetting eternity. Yet in every line, there is also promise, there is glory, there is a call to keep alive the spark of hope. He says, "Your names are written in the heavens. Do not fear, the righteous one will come, and with him judgment will also come." Enoch's lament is also his unshakable faith. The letter also tells how the great heavenly books would be opened, books that contained the deeds of every human being, from beginning to end. It speaks of how the wicked would be confounded, their masks torn off, their disguises stripped away before the eternal throne. And it speaks of how the faithful would be remembered, honored, and restored. Nothing would remain hidden. The time of revelation would come. Enoch does not merely describe the end. He calls his readers to live as if the end were always at the door. But what is most moving about his letter is the sense of farewell. Like a father who has seen too much to remain among men, Enoch leaves words as an eternal legacy. He knows he will depart. He knows he will be taken, that he will vanish from the earth without tasting death. But he also knows that his words and the records he wrote would resurface in the generations when they were most needed. Therefore, his final words are not of fear, but of covenant. For even in the face of the end of times, the covenant with the Most High remains unshaken. And so, as he closes his letter, Enoch does not end the story. He hands it over. He places in the hands of the reader the responsibility to discern the signs, to hear the cry of the heavens, and to walk in holiness even when the entire world is in darkness. And what follows is not silence. It is preparation. For the time he foretold is closer than one might imagine. And thus the ancient book closes, but the revelation does not fall silent. You have heard of fallen angels, beheld celestial visions that shake the soul, walked among dreamlike symbols, and read the letter that crosses generations. Now, heavenly gates begin to close slowly, leaving behind a silence that echoes deep within your heart. The eternal throne is already prepared, and the books that record every deed are being opened. Before this truth, questions remain, questions you may have avoided. Are you ready to face the glory of judgment, or do you feel the lament of being unprepared? When the last trumpet sounds, there will be no time for late repentance. The mystery that has been hidden for millennia now knocks at your door as a warning, not as a threat, but as hope. Look within your own life, at the paths you have taken. If today were the end of times, what would your destiny be? Heaven or the abyss, eternal light or eternal darkness? Do not wait for the final cry, for it has already begun, silent, constant, inescapable. The letter written by Enoch is now in your hands, slowly burning with a fire that illuminates and purifies. This is your moment, the moment of decision. Inscribe these words in your heart, share them with those you love, and comment here on what you feel before this revelation. If you understand the seriousness of what you have heard, leave your testimony and subscribe to this channel, for together we will walk toward eternity. The journey has not ended. In truth, it has only just begun. May the truth you have discovered today never fade until the day your eyes finally behold the face of the one who is to come. Until the next video, and may God bless you.